12-year-old Jacob Mitchell hadn't spoken a complete sentence in 2 years. Not since the day 3 boys cornered him in the school bathroom and recorded him having a meltdown. The video went viral at Lincoln Middle School within hours. Freak Show Jacob became his new name. His father, David Mitchell, watched his son disappear into silence. Jacob used to talk about stars, about black holes and supernovas. Now he just drew motorcycles, hundreds of them. Harley Davidsons with perfect detail, down to every chrome pipe and leather seat. He filled notebook after notebook with nothing but bikes. David was raising Jacob alone after his wife left 3 years ago. She couldn't handle Jacob's autism, she'd said. The meltdowns, the sensory overload, the different way Jacob saw the world. So she left, and David learned to be both parents. But David couldn't protect Jacob from everything. He couldn't be at school during lunch when the 3 boys, Tyler, Brett, and Mason, found new ways to torment his son every single day. They'd steal his drawings, mock his movements, push him in the hallways where teachers couldn't see. Jacob stopped eating lunch. He started having panic attacks before school. Dark circles formed under his eyes from nightmares. And he stopped drawing motorcycles in class because the boys would just rip them up anyway. David went to the school 3 times. Principal Harrison listened sympathetically, promised to look into it, and did nothing. The 3 boys had influential parents. Tyler's father was on the school board. Brett's mother was the superintendent's sister. Mason's family donated heavily to the athletic program. There's not enough evidence of systematic bullying, Principal Harrison explained during their 3rd meeting. Boys will be boys, Mr. Mitchell. Maybe Jacob needs to learn to handle social situations better. David's hands clenched into fists. My son has autism. He's being traumatized, and you're telling me he needs to handle it better. Perhaps a different school environment would be more suitable for Jacob's needs, the principal suggested coldly. That's when David understood. The school wanted Jacob gone, not the bullies. The system designed to protect children had decided his son was the problem. David was about to give up. Then he discovered what Jacob had been drawing in secret. One night at 2 a.m., David found Jacob sitting on the garage floor, surrounded by his motorcycle drawings. But these were different. Each drawing showed a person, a man with a beard sitting on a Harley, talking to a small boy. The same man in every picture, the same motorcycle, the same gentle smile. Who is this, buddy? David asked softly. Jacob didn't answer. He never did any more. But he pointed to the man in the drawing, then to his own chest. Then he drew more. Motorcycles surrounding the boy, protecting him from dark figures that could only be the bullies. David's heart broke. His son was drawing a fantasy where someone protected him, someone strong and fearless on a motorcycle. The next day was the worst yet. Jacob came home with a black eye. His favorite hoodie was torn. And worse, he'd wet himself during a panic attack in the hallway while students laughed and recorded on their phones. David called the police. Officer Martinez came, took a report, and said the same thing everyone else did. It's hard to prosecute minors for bullying without explicit threats. That night, David sat in his garage, staring at Jacob's drawings, and did something desperate. He posted on Facebook, "My autistic son draws motorcycles because he wishes for protectors he'll never have. The school won't help. The police can't help. I don't know what else to do." He fell asleep not expecting anything. But sometimes desperation finds exactly the right audience. At 6:47 a.m., David's phone started ringing, and ringing, and ringing. The first call was from a man named Marcus Diesel Coleman, president of the Iron Riders Motorcycle Club. His voice was rough, but surprisingly gentle. Mr. Mitchell, my name is Diesel. I saw your post about your son and the motorcycles. I'd like to help if you'll let me. David's throat tightened. How did you even find my post? It got shared into a group for bikers who work with special needs kids. My daughter has autism too. She's 16 now, and motorcycles saved her life. Diesel paused. I know exactly what your son is going through, and I think I know why he draws bikes. Why? David asked, desperate for any understanding. Because motorcycles are predictable. They follow rules. They don't judge you. They don't lie or mock or hurt. For kids with autism, that consistency is everything. Your son isn't just drawing motorcycles. He's drawing safety. David started crying. Someone finally understood. Can I meet Jacob? Diesel asked. No pressure, no commitments. Just let me show him a real motorcycle. Let me show him that the protectors he's drawing actually exist. What happened next Monday morning changed everything at Lincoln Middle School. Diesel arrived at David's house at 7:15 a.m. on Monday. He rode a gleaming black Harley-Davidson and wore a leather vest with patches that marked him as president of his chapter. He was massive. 6'4", silver beard, arms covered in tattoos and scars. The kind of man who makes people nervous. But when he saw Jacob peeking through the window, Diesel's face softened completely. He knelt down to the boy's level, even though Jacob was still inside the house. David opened the door carefully. Jacob, this is Diesel. He rides motorcycles. Real ones. Jacob stared at Diesel with wide, analyzing eyes. Then he did something he hadn't done in months. He walked outside. Diesel didn't move. He just stayed kneeling, letting Jacob approach at his own pace. When Jacob got close enough to touch the motorcycle, Diesel spoke quietly. She's a 2019 Harley-Davidson Street Glide, 107 cubic inches, Milwaukee 8 engine. Can you hear how she purrs? He started the engine. The rumble was deep and rhythmic. Jacob's hands flew to his ears, too loud, but his eyes were locked on the bike with pure fascination. Diesel immediately shut it off. Too loud, huh? That's okay. My daughter couldn't handle it at first either. Took us 6 months to get her comfortable. He pulled out earplugs from his vest. Try these. Jacob took them hesitantly. With the earplugs in, Diesel started the engine again. This time, Jacob smiled. Actually smiled. You want to sit on it? Diesel asked. You don't have to ride. Just sit. Jacob looked at his father. David nodded, tears in his eyes. Jacob climbed onto the motorcycle. For the first time in 2 years, Jacob looked peaceful. Mr. Mitchell, Diesel said, standing up. I have a proposal. What if we escort Jacob to school? What if we show those bullies that your son has a family now? A big family. I don't understand, David said. Tomorrow morning, I'll bring my chapter. We'll create an escort for Jacob to school. We'll show everyone that this boy is protected. Not threatened, not scared off, not hidden. Protected. Tuesday morning, 30 motorcycles lined up outside Jacob's house. David looked out the window at 7 a.m. and couldn't believe what he saw. 30 Harley-Davidsons filled the entire street. 30 bikers in leather vests stood beside them, men and women. Veterans, construction workers, nurses, teachers, all of them members of the Iron Riders. Jacob's eyes went wider than David had ever seen them. Diesel knocked on the door. Ready for the ride of your life? They'd brought a sidecar attached to Diesel's bike. It had a special harness and noise-canceling headphones. They'd thought of everything. Everything we're doing is completely legal, Diesel explained to David. We're just a group of concerned citizens escorting a child to school. We won't threaten anyone. We won't break any rules. We're just going to show presence. The 30 motorcycles formed a procession through the suburban streets of their town. Jacob rode in the sidecar next to Diesel, wearing his noise-canceling headphones and a child-sized leather vest with a single patch. Protected. The sound was overwhelming. 30 motorcycles, all running in perfect synchronization, created a rumble that shook windows and stopped traffic. People came out of their houses to watch. Some recorded on their phones. Others waved and smiled. When they arrived at Lincoln Middle School, Principal Harrison was standing in the parking lot with security guards, looking panicked. Behind him, students had gathered to watch, including Tyler, Brett, and Mason, the 3 bullies. The motorcycles formed a perfect circle around the school entrance. Then, one by one, engines shut off. The silence was profound. Diesel helped Jacob out of the sidecar. The boy was shaking, but not from fear, from excitement. Principal Harrison rushed forward. "Mr. Mitchell, this is highly inappropriate. You can't bring a motorcycle gang to a school." "We're not a gang," Diesel said calmly, stepping forward. "We're the Iron Riders, a registered motorcycle club. We're here as a community escort for a student who's been systematically bullied while your administration did nothing." "I don't appreciate the accusation," Harrison started. "I don't care what you appreciate," Diesel interrupted, his voice hard as iron. "This boy has been tormented for months. You've been told, you've done nothing. So we're here now, and we'll be here every morning and every afternoon until Jacob feels safe in your school." Officer Martinez, who'd taken the bullying report, stood nearby. He caught David's eye and nodded slowly. He understood. Then something happened that no one expected. A woman stepped out of the crowd of bikers. She was small, wore glasses, and didn't look like she belonged with the rough-looking crew. She walked up to Principal Harrison. "Dr. Sarah Chen, child psychologist and licensed therapist specializing in autism spectrum disorders. I'm also a member of the Iron Riders." She handed him her card. "I'll be volunteering my services to Lincoln Middle School free of charge to develop an anti-bullying program specific to neurodivergent students. I'll submit my proposal by Friday." Harrison's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Another biker stepped forward. "James Rodriguez, licensed attorney. I'll be reviewing the school's compliance with federal disability discrimination laws, specifically the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. I believe we'll find some concerning gaps." A third biker joined them. Marcus Thompson, former special education teacher, current motorcycle club treasurer. "I'll be happy to train your staff on autism accommodations. No charge." Principal Harrison looked around at the 30 bikers surrounding his school. These weren't criminals. These were professionals, veterans, parents, people who'd organized with precision and purpose. He was outnumbered, outmaneuvered. At lunch, instead of hiding in the bathroom, Jacob sat in the cafeteria. Alone, but not hiding. A girl named Emma from his math class approached cautiously. "Those motorcycles were cool. Are those your friends?" Jacob didn't answer, but he pulled out his notebook and showed her his drawings. Emma's eyes widened. "You drew these? These are amazing." She called to other students. "Look at Jacob's drawings." Suddenly, Jacob was surrounded by classmates who'd ignored him for 2 years. They weren't mocking him. They were genuinely impressed. "Can you draw my bike?" a boy asked. "I have a dirt bike." Jacob's hands moved before his father even realized what was happening. He was drawing, fast and detailed. The boy's dirt bike took shape on the page in minutes. "That's incredible," the boy breathed. For the first time since the viral video, Jacob wasn't freak show Jacob. He was the kid who draws amazing motorcycles. And he had 30 bikers who'd made it very clear that hurting him wasn't an option anymore. 3 weeks later, Diesel revealed the real reason he'd come to help. David invited Diesel to dinner as a thank you. Jacob insisted on drawing a portrait of Diesel's motorcycle, which now hung in Diesel's garage. After Jacob went to bed, Diesel told David the truth. My daughter Maya is 16 now. She has autism too. When she was Jacob's age, she was exactly where he is. Nonverbal, bullied, traumatized. Diesel's voice broke slightly. She tried to kill herself when she was 13. Pills. I found her just in time. David's blood ran cold. After the hospital, the therapy, the medications, nothing worked. She was just gone. Then one day, I took her to a motorcycle rally, just to get her out of the house. She saw a custom bike with a paint job she loved. She walked up to it and touched it. And for the first time in a year, she smiled. Diesel wiped his eyes. I bought her a motorcycle. Not to ride, she was too young, but to work on. We spent 6 months rebuilding a Harley together. Every night after school, she didn't talk, but she worked. And slowly, piece by piece, she came back to me. Is she okay now? David asked. She's a junior in high school. Honor roll. She talks now. Not a lot, but she talks. She has friends. She rides her own bike. She's alive. Diesel looked at David with fierce intensity. Motorcycles saved my daughter's life. The routine, the mechanics, the community. It gave her something stable in a world that felt chaotic. When I saw your post about Jacob and his drawings, I knew. I knew he was looking for the same thing Maya found. Thank you, David whispered. You saved my son. We saved each other, Diesel corrected. That's what family does. 6 months later, something extraordinary happened. Jacob spoke. He was in Diesel's garage, working on a carburetor with a wrench, when he suddenly said, clear as day, this part is inefficient. The fuel mixture ratio should be 14.7.1 for optimal combustion. Diesel froze. David, standing in the doorway, dropped his coffee cup. It shattered on the floor. Jacob looked up, seemingly unaware of what he'd just done. Did I say something wrong? David sobbed. Jacob had spoken a complete sentence, a complex, technical sentence about motorcycle mechanics. No, buddy, Diesel said, voice thick with emotion. You said something exactly right. Jacob kept talking. About engines, about compression ratios, about the beauty of mechanical systems that followed predictable rules. He talked for 20 minutes straight. It turned out Jacob hadn't lost the ability to speak. He'd lost the feeling of safety required to speak. The motorcycles gave him that safety back. The Iron Riders gave him that safety back. The transformation didn't stop there. The Iron Riders started a program, Engines of Hope. They worked with autistic children across 3 counties, using motorcycles as therapy tools. The routine maintenance, the predictable mechanics, the sensory experience of riding. All of it helped kids who struggled with the chaos of social interaction. Dr. Sarah Chen, the biker psychologist, published a paper on motorcycle-assisted therapy for autism spectrum disorders. It got picked up by medical journals. Other motorcycle clubs started similar programs nationwide. Jacob became the program's symbol. The boy who'd been silent for 2 years was now teaching other autistic kids about motorcycles. He still didn't talk much in regular social situations, but put him in front of an engine, and he became a completely different person. Tyler, Brett, and Mason were expelled after an investigation revealed they'd been bullying multiple students with disabilities. Their parents were furious, but the school board, under pressure from the Iron Riders' lawyer, had no choice. Principal Harrison retired early. The new principal was a woman who'd worked in special education for 20 years. She made Lincoln Middle School a model for neurodivergent support. Lincoln Middle School now has a bike club where students learn motorcycle mechanics as part of an after-school program. Diesel volunteers 3 afternoons a week. 20 kids attend regularly. Half of them are on the autism spectrum. Jacob, now 14, is the club's assistant instructor. He explains compression ratios and engine timing with the precision of an engineer. He has friends, real friends who love motorcycles as much as he does. He still draws constantly. But now his drawings include people, the Iron Riders, his classmates, his father. He's drawing his life, and it's finally a life worth drawing. David keeps one drawing framed in his office. It shows 30 motorcycles in a circle, and in the center, a small boy who's finally smiling. Below it, a caption in Jacob's careful handwriting. My iron wall, my family. 5 years later, Jacob did something that brought Diesel to tears. Jacob was 17 when he walked into the Iron Riders clubhouse holding an envelope. By then, he was talking regularly, though he still preferred discussing mechanics over emotions. He'd been accepted to MIT for mechanical engineering. He handed the envelope to Diesel. Inside was a drawing, the most detailed one Jacob had ever created. It showed Diesel on his Harley, but drawn in the style of classical art, like something from a museum. Every line perfect, every shadow precisely placed. I wanted to thank you, Jacob said. You gave me my voice back. You gave me my life back. Diesel couldn't speak. He just pulled Jacob into a hug. I'm going to MIT, Jacob continued. I'm going to study engineering. And when I graduate, I'm going to design motorcycles. Therapeutic motorcycles specifically for people with autism. Better ergonomics for sensory issues. Quieter engines. Predictable performance characteristics. I'm going to make motorcycles that help kids like me. That's incredible, Jacob, Diesel managed to say. And I'm going to name my first design the Iron Wall, Jacob added, after the family that saved me. The drawing hangs in the Iron Riders clubhouse now. Above it, a plaque reads, Jacob Mitchell. Proof that sometimes all a silent child needs is someone who believes their silence has something important to say. Jacob's drawings still fill notebooks, but now they show a world where he belongs, where he's understood, where 30 motorcycles once formed an iron wall of protection around a terrified autistic boy and showed him he was worth defending. The Iron Riders tell Jacob's story to every new member. They tell it to other families struggling with autism. They tell it to anyone who doubts that bikers can be heroes. We didn't cure Jacob, Diesel always says when he tells the story. We just showed him that the world has space for people who think differently, who see beauty in engine schematics and find peace in the rumble of motorcycles, who need routine and predictability and acceptance. Sometimes the best therapy isn't in a clinic. Sometimes it's in a garage with 30 bikers who understand that protecting children means more than physical safety. It means showing them they're valued, understood, and never alone. Jacob Mitchell found his voice in the rumble of engines. He found his family in a motorcycle club. He found himself in the grease and chrome of machines that follow rules and never judge. And 30 bikers who looked like the last people who'd understand autism became the first people who truly did. That's what real brotherhood does. It finds the children the world overlooks and shows them they're worth seeing. It finds the gifts in people others call broken. And it builds an iron wall of protection that never falls. Sometimes the scariest looking people have the gentlest understanding. And sometimes a silent autistic boy just needs 30 Harleys to teach him that his voice matters.